What if the things we think are silent are only silent because we have never truly listened to them? For centuries, millions of eyes have rested on the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, eyes filled with devotion, curiosity, skepticism, and awe. Pilgrims crossed deserts and oceans to stand before her. Theologians wrote volumes about her symbolism. Artists marveled at her beauty. Scientists scrutinized her colors and fibers. Yet for nearly 500 years, no one thought to do something so simple, so human, so intimate as to listen. We assume that sound belongs only to the living, that rhythm belongs only to flesh and blood, that heartbeat belongs only to creatures with lungs and veins and warm skin. A cloth, especially a cloth made from cactus fiber, is expected to offer nothing but silence. And yet, silence was not what answered. Our Lady of Guadalupe is not painted on canvas, prepared by skilled European hands. The Tilma of Juan Diego is not linen, silk, or parchment. It is ayat, a rough weave of agave fiber, taken from a desert plant, something humble and fragile, something meant for daily labor. Indigenous people used it to carry corn, tools, firewood, or to shield themselves from the cold. It was never meant to endure. The fibers break down easily in humidity. They invite insects, they rot, they crumble. Under normal conditions, such a garment survives perhaps 20 years before disintegrating into dust. Juan Diego's Tilma has existed since the year 1531. Wars have been fought, empires have fallen, diseases have wiped out millions. Technologies have transformed the world beyond recognition. And yet this poor piece of plant fiber remains intact. Long before anyone listened for a heartbeat, this alone defied expectation. From a purely scientific standpoint, the Tilma should be nothing more than dried cellulose. It should behave like dead matter because it is dead matter. It has no nerves to transmit sensation, no blood to circulate warmth, no muscles to contract, no cells to generate energy. It is chemically closer to wood pulp than to skin. If you place your ear against a wooden door, you do not hear life. If you press your cheek against a stone wall, you feel only cold. Paintings do not breathe. Cloth does not pulse. These are not philosophical opinions, but physical laws. Matter that is no longer living does not create organized rhythmic movement. It does not behave as if it possesses an internal source of activity. And yet, beneath the gentle image enshrined in Mexico City, something refuses to conform. For decades, scientists approached the Tilma with the mindset of analysts and skeptics. They examined pigments to see if they came from minerals, plants, or animals. They searched for underdrawings, brushstrokes, binding agents, and signs of human technique. Some expected to uncover the clever work of an unknown artist. Others anticipated later retouching or hidden repairs. Many came prepared to explain everything away as coincidence or fraud. What they were not prepared for was the possibility that the image might behave less like an object and more like a presence. Everything shifts once we stop treating the image merely as an artifact and begin to consider what the image depicts. Our Lady of Guadalupe is shown as a young woman, eyes lowered, hands folded, wrapped in stars. To a modern viewer, her posture appears serene, almost timeless. But to the indigenous people of the 16th century, her body spoke a very clear language. The black sash, tied high above her waist, was not a decorative element. In Aztec culture, it was an unmistakable symbol of pregnancy. It announced that the woman wearing it carried life within her. Her abdomen, slightly rounded, is not exaggerated, not theatrical, but undeniably present. The image proclaims motherhood, quietly but unmistakably. Years ago, during a series of non-invasive examinations, an idea emerged that seemed almost naive in its simplicity. If the image portrays a pregnant woman, what would happen if one listened where life is meant to be growing? This was not done in secrecy or hysteria. It was done carefully, calmly, with the same medical tools used in hospitals around the world. A doctor, trained to distinguish illusion from physiology, took a stethoscope, The instrument itself is unremarkable. A thin diaphragm of metal designed to capture vibrations too subtle for the naked ear. It has listened to countless lungs, hearts, and unborn children. It has no interest in miracles. It translates vibration into sound. The basilica was filled with its usual low hum, footsteps, whispers, distant prayers. The doctor positioned the stethoscope on the tilma, directly over the area just below the black sash. The expectation was nothing. Absolute nothing. Dry agave fiber has no reason to produce sound. The doctor listened, ready to confirm silence, ready to remove the instrument and continue with more conventional observations. Instead, something answered. A steady rhythm emerged, unmistakable in its regularity. Not a hum, not a random vibration, not an echo. Thump, 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 thump. It had cadence. It had persistence. It sounded like life insisting on being noticed. For a moment, the doctor doubted his own senses. The human mind is capable of suggestion, especially in sacred spaces. Perhaps he was hearing his own heartbeat reverberating through the instrument. Perhaps the vibrations of the building were interfering. Perhaps it was a malfunction. So he moved the stethoscope. He repositioned it slightly, then farther away. The sound changed in intensity but did not disappear when placed over the abdomen. When he placed it elsewhere on the tilma, the rhythm faded. It was localized, it was specific. It behaved the way biological signals behave, not the way environmental noise behaves. The doctor listened again, longer this time, and began to count. The number that emerged only deepened the mystery. 115 to 120 beats per minute. This was not an arbitrary tempo. Medical training teaches exact ranges. An adult heart at rest beats far slower. Even under stress, an adult heartbeat follows a different pattern. This rhythm belonged to neither exertion nor anxiety. It belonged to development. In fetal medicine, this range corresponds precisely to the heartbeat of a child in the womb during the final stages of pregnancy. Not the mother's heart, the child's. The implications were staggering. The image did not merely suggest pregnancy symbolically. It seemed to respond as if it carried life. The sound was not where an adult heart would be expected, but where an unborn child's heart would be heard. This detail alone shattered any easy explanation. A cloth cannot produce a fetal heartbeat. There is no mechanism by which dried plant fiber can mimic the precise rhythm of a developing baby's heart without a source of organized energy. And yet, the rhythm persisted. Skeptics argue for mass suggestion, but suggestion cannot create measurable, consistent patterns detectable by instruments designed to eliminate imagination. Others point to environmental vibrations, but environmental noise does not lock itself to a symbolic location and disappear when the instrument is moved away. Physics offers no explanation for how inert material could generate rhythmic movement without an external power source. Biology offers no explanation for that rhythm aligns perfectly with prenatal life. What makes this even more unsettling is the continuity of the phenomenon. The image has been exposed to smoke, pollution, humidity, candle soot, and even a bomb blast in the early 20th century, which shattered objects nearby yet left the tilma intact. It has survived in conditions that should have destroyed it multiple times over. The fibers have not decayed as expected. The colors have not cracked or flaked as centuries-old pigments typically do. And now, beneath the image that has refused to age like matter, a rhythm has been heard that refuses to behave like matter. To listen to a heartbeat is one of the most intimate acts in medicine. It is the sound doctors seek when they confirm life, when they reassure parents, when they stand between hope and despair. A heartbeat announces presence. It declares, without words, I am here. If what was heard beneath the mantle of Our Lady of Guadalupe was truly the heartbeat of a child, then the implications reach far beyond art, anthropology, or even miracle claims. It would mean that the image is not frozen in time, but participates in the mystery it represents. The image has always spoken, but perhaps not in the ways modern minds expected. It spoke through symbols the indigenous people understood instantly. It spoke through preservation that confounded chemists. It spoke through eyes that, under magnification, appear to contain reflections as if they had witnessed a scene. And now it speaks through sound, through rhythm, through something as basic and undeniable as a heartbeat. Not the heartbeat of a woman at rest, not the echo of a building, but the heartbeat of life waiting to be born. When science tries to classify what it encounters, it relies on repeatability, on known laws, on established models. The Tilma resists classification. It is too old to survive Natu. Rally, too delicate to remain unscathed, too precise to be dismissed as random, and now too alive in its response to be reduced to pigment and fiber alone. Whether one interprets this as a miracle or as an unresolved anomaly, the fact remains that the stethoscope did not hear silence. It heard life where life should not be. To stand before Our Lady of Guadalupe, knowing this, changes the experience. The image is no longer just something to be seen from a distance. It becomes something that listens back, something that responds, something that quietly insists it is more than an object behind glass. For centuries, humanity looked at her. Perhaps the more unsettling truth is that all along, something within that humble cloth has been waiting for humanity to listen. Stop for a moment and really stay with this thought, not rushing past it, not softening it, not explaining it away too quickly. We are speaking about a piece of cloth, ancient, fragile, poor in material, that reproduces at an audible and measurable level the precise physiology of a human pregnancy. Not poetry, not metaphor. Physiology. That single word should already make us uncomfortable. Physiology belongs to bodies. It belongs to organs, to blood, to warmth, to life sustained moment by moment. And yet here it is, emerging from something that should not possess any of those qualities. Ask yourself honestly, how a sound can exist without a body that produces it. Sound is vibration. Vibration requires movement. Movement requires energy. Energy in a biological rhythm requires a living system. For there to be a heartbeat, there must be a heart. Not a symbolic heart, not a painted heart, but a structure capable of contracting and releasing in an organized way. For there to be a heart, there must be blood flowing through it, because a heart without blood is nothing more than tissue. For there to be blood, there must be warmth, because blood at rest, without heat, coagulates and becomes inert. These are not religious assumptions. These are basic medical facts taught on the first days of study. Every link in this chain depends on the previous one. Remove the body, and the entire chain collapses. And yet, in front of the Tilma, the chain does not collapse. It somehow remains intact. This brings us to the second layer of the impossible discovery, a layer that does not stand alone, but confirms and strengthens the first. Think about temperature. Temperature is one of the simplest ways we distinguish living matter from non-living matter. Life resists its environment. Death submits to it. A metal object left in a cold room becomes cold. A stone floor in winter steals heat from your feet. A piece of cloth hanging in a damp church becomes cold and lifeless to the touch. Inert matter does not generate its own thermal rhythm. It reaches equilibrium with whatever surrounds it. This is one of the most stable and reliable laws of physics, taught long before any religious interpretation enters the discussion. And yet, when researchers began to take careful measurements of the Tilma, something deeply unsettling appeared. Despite fluctuations inside the basilica, despite cold mornings and warm afternoons, despite seasonal changes in external weather conditions, the surface of the Tilma did not behave like cloth. It tended to maintain a constant temperature, not approximately constant, not vaguely warm, constant within a narrow range. And that range is what forces silence, even from the most cautious observer. About 36.6 degrees Celsius. Not a random number, not a convenient approximation. The precise, optimal temperature of a healthy human body at rest. This means that the Tilma behaves thermally not like fabric, not like fiber, not like an object hanging in air, but like living skin. Skin that regulates heat. Skin that maintains balance. Skin that resists environmental dominance. When you place these findings side by side, the rational framework begins to weaken. We are not dealing with a painted image. We are not dealing with a clever artifact. We are not dealing with a coincidence that can be isolated and dismissed. We are dealing with a convergence, an unpainted image, a constant human body temperature, a fetal heartbeat audible at the precise rate expected of a child in the womb. Taken separately, each element disturbs expectations. Together, they overturn them. At this point, logic tries desperately to retreat. It wants to fragment the data, to isolate each anomaly so that none of them have to speak to each other. But the anomalies insist on unity. They converge on a single conclusion that reason hesitates to pronounce aloud. The Tilma does not behave like a representation. It behaves like a presence. Our Lady of Guadalupe is not simply depicted there as if from afar. She is not merely up there, fixed, distant, frozen in history. She is within there. The Tilma functions not as a record, but as a vessel, as if time itself has been folded, suspended, allowing a living reality to remain accessible. It is as if this cloth were a living body held in a mysterious pause, a physical extension of Mary and of the child she carries. Not a photograph taken in 1531 and admired centuries later, not an artistic snapshot of a moment long gone, but a window that does not close, a threshold that remains open, a point where eternity presses into history and refuses to leave. It pulses, it maintains warmth, it responds as life responds. Here, now, in the 21st century, and this inevitably leads to a deeper and more unsettling question. Why now? Why allow modern technology to stumble upon this reality in our era and not centuries earlier? God does not perform. Miracles as entertainment. Signs are not scattered randomly like fireworks. Every sign has a recipient. Every sign speaks a specific language to a specific generation. So we must ask who we are and what language we understand. We live in a time obsessed with proof. We no longer trust testimony. We no longer trust tradition. We demand measurement, numbers, data, graphs. We live in a time where life in the womb is often discussed in abstract terms, reduced to arguments, policies, ideologies, and personal preferences. A time in which the mystery of incarnation is frequently softened into metaphor so that it does not disturb modern sensibilities. And it is precisely into this climate that something emerges which speaks not the language of sermons, but the language of science. Beats per minute, degrees Celsius, acoustic signals, frequencies. From Mexico, a signal travels that does not shout but insists. That heartbeat at 115 beats per minute is not dramatic. It is not violent. It is steady, persistent, quiet, and precisely for that reason it is devastating in its clarity. It proclaims that God truly became flesh, not symbolically, not spiritually only, but biologically. He was once small, he was once hidden, he was once defenseless, growing in the womb of a young woman from Nazareth. The Incarnation is not mythology wrapped in religious poetry. It is a physical event that unfolded cell by cell, heartbeat by heartbeat. To hear that sound is to be forced into a confrontation. Either it is dismissed entirely, or it is allowed to change everything. Because if God has a heartbeat, then God is not an abstraction. He is not an idea floating at the edges of philosophy. He is not a distant force. He is life itself experiencing vulnerability. A heart pumps blood. A heart feels stress and calm. A heart responds to fear and love. A heart can be wounded. A heart can be offered. And if that heart can still be heard within the Tilma, then it means his presence did not withdraw after a moment in history. It means he did not arrive briefly and then vanish into memory. It means presence continues. That heart beats when you feel forgotten. It beats when you lie awake at night with thoughts you do not dare speak aloud. It beats when you are afraid of what tomorrow will demand of you. It beats when you believe no one sees your struggle. That rhythm crosses centuries, not to impress scholars, but to reach individuals. Our Lady of Guadalupe does not bring us only an image to look at. She brings us her living Son. She stands as the living Ark of the Covenant, not carrying tablets of stone, but carrying life itself. Just as the ancient Ark was believed to hold the tangible presence of God, So this image holds a presence that continues to communicate through warmth and rhythm. Imagine being there, standing quietly in the basilica. The noise fades. The crowd dissolves. Close your eyes and imagine leaning your head against that green, star-covered mantle the way a child leans against his mother. You would expect rough fiber. You would expect cold. Instead, imagine warmth. Imagine that steady thump, 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 thump. A sound older than history and younger than every moment. The heartbeat that holds galaxies in existence, choosing to make itself small enough to hide within a piece of cloth. This sign is not given to satisfy curiosity. It is an invitation to synchronize our own hearts with His. That heart has been beating for nearly 500 years, unheard not because it was silent, but because no one thought to listen. Today you have listened, and listening always demands a response. So I ask you for a simple, concrete gesture before this moment passes. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. Acknowledge what you have heard. Let your response echo outward. Fill the comment section with a declaration that answers that heartbeat. Write the words, "Your heart beats for me." Write it deliberately. Write it as an act of recognition. Each comment becomes an echo, a small vibration spreading through the digital world, carrying life rather than noise. And when you feel lost again, when faith feels distant or fragile, remember that there is a heart in Mexico, steady and warm, beating your name into history.